Okay, I've still not done the introduction, and I do. In fact, I don't apologise because I quite like it being rough and raw. Ross here is. Do you know how there's that meme that you get that's like that friend online that you've never actually met that always supports you? Ross is mine. We always speak, like each other's stuff. Like it's a constant. It's a relationship that is, and I think this is actually the first time we've actually spoke in anything other than like either a voice note or a message. So.
Or you send me cereal in the post.
Well, you've got to look after your friends, my man. So Ross is like again. I've watched Ross progress from. I think I was doing one of my either a photo shoot prep or a bodybuilding prep, and you were getting coached by Ali at the same time. I was getting coached by Vaughn. Right. Just started again, just communicating and sharing stuff. I'm excited to have you on because there's a load of stuff that we're going to talk about. Ross is a week in to prep. Am I right?
Halfway through week 2.
So halfway through week 2. We'll get him to talk about the big weight drop that he's already had. We will also talk about, well, the plan is to get him on again maybe once or twice throughout prep, so we can all hear and see the way it impacts him physically, mentally, psychologically. You'll also see his face completely change shape, so that'll all be exciting to see. But Ross, honestly, thank you very much for taking the time to come on. I know I've been speaking for freaking ages already. Could you just please tell us a little bit about you, where you live, because that'd be pretty cool, what you do for a job, and the transition that you're kind of going through to becoming a PT?
Yeah, okay, so first of all, thank you very much for having me on. It's always really exciting to come on and do these sort of things. Sort of pushes me out of my comfort zone a little bit, which I'm going to touch on as we start to talk a little bit more about prep and competing and stuff. But so first things first, I live in Thurso. Now, for most of your Scottish listeners, I hope they know where that is. But for those who don't, if you look at the map of Scotland, we are right at the top. If I go any further north, like I'm literally in the sea. So bang smack in the middle of nowhere. When I come to competing, I'm going to have. It doesn't matter where I compete. It's going to be a minimum of like a 5-hour, a 5-hour trip. So my job. So I'm actually a full-time shift worker. But on the side, I do a little bit of coaching, a little bit of PT. Most of my stuff is just online though. I've got very few face-to-face clients, but the online stuff seems to be very, very popular. And it's something that's really enjoyable. I think that being able to help people and have that sort of job satisfaction that maybe my career doesn't provide, that's something that's really, really cool as well. So I really, really enjoy that side of things. And yeah, it's time to sort of get right out of my comfort zone now and really sort of see where I can take it, I think, in terms of competing. I've got lots of different reasons for doing it. Hopefully that we're going to explore as we get further into things. But yeah, it will be interesting to see if we do episodes 2 and 3, the difference between my sort of round face at the minute and then the skeleton face towards the end.
The biggest thing that I'll notice is that those hands won't be moving at all come towards the end. They'll be just firmly.
Is it that bad? Right, okay. So I'm going to make the most of talking with my hands for now.
Mate, I think you'll be all right because, again, I've followed you for a long time and you've done a lot of recomps. You kind of know what it starts to get like, and then it does start to kick in. But you'll be fine. You genuinely, normally by the end, like by the time it starts getting harder, what I've found is like it's been going so long that it almost just feels normal. But you'll be fine. And I'm excited to get more people to see it. General population. I didn't document my preps or photo shoots very well, so.
It's a shame as well, man, because you looked sick, like you looked so good. It is a shame that you didn't document it a little bit more. But you've also gained like a lot of experience from that, and there's probably elements of it that you'll be able to translate into your coaching and your sort of PTing as well. Or hopefully trying to help people embrace things and maybe see things in a bit of a different light. Yeah,
so with me doing what I've done, it had not like a negative impact, but I think it put some people off working with me because I've always been like yeah, it's fine, you don't need to push too hard, like if you don't want to train, like don't, like I've been very much like that, like people can just live and do what they want. And I think when people start to see me being on the Stairmaster for an hour like every day of the week, they were almost like, well, I don't want to do that. But I would never make anybody do that. I just wanted to push.
You're like, bro, I don't even want to do that. I'm doing it because I've got it.
does honestly get good. Like you get, I don't know, like you get that runner's high. I found, but that's someone else. But let's get this back to you. So for me, it worked weird. But with regards, you're saying shift work. Is that? Can you go into a bit more detail on what it is you do, or is it kind of top secret?
So I can't discuss it too much. Obviously, people are going to be like, "Well, that's really exciting." It's not that exciting, but I can't delve into it too much. I just work day shifts and night shifts, and that sort of the night shift. So night shifts at the best of times are vile for anybody who's ever done shift work. Night shifts are disgusting, and they are actually proven to be a health risk. So the World Health Organization have come out and said that they are a probable carcinogenic. So great time, but I think prep. So they are very difficult, and they're very taxing. So I think that one of my biggest concerns around prep, like for me personally, is going to be how to manage the shift work around the fact that I'm, starving and energy output's going to be high, intake's going to be low. I think that's probably one of my biggest concerns, and I think that's probably something that I'll probably document more than anything else is how the shifts impact how I feel and how I perform and whatnot. At the minute, it's just a case of, oh well, I've just done shift work. I need to get my gym sessions done, or I need to, it's just a case of right. Okay, I was on night shift last night. That's done. Need to go get shit done. When it gets into the depths of prep, I'm going to imagine I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to be that sort of, let's just crack on and get things done. It might be a case of sort of dragging ass a little bit.
You're pretty freaking. You're one of like the most motivated people I follow on social media. I think, like genuinely, I'm dead serious as well. Like you don't miss a beat. You're doing it, and there's no like shying away. And I don't think it will have that big of an impact. The things. And I'm like half joking, half serious when I say this. Like you'll probably have to start utilizing and using some beds, but
yeah,
like I don't fully know the ins and outs, and I don't know the science. I imagine you're gonna have to take vitamin D. I imagine you'll have to use some beds, and I imagine you'll have to have like a real good routine. But most people should be trying to supplement vitamin D if they live in Scotland.
I was just gonna say, we don't exactly get loads of sunlight anyway, so vitamin D is a solid staple already.
Yeah. So I will come back to shift work potentially, but we'll just see what happens with what we do chat about. And what was it that from that job, what you're doing now, like how did that kind of like spark something in you to become a personal trainer or start helping other people with fitness journeys?
Okay, so if we go back, before I did shift work, I was a chef. So my life was very, very busy. Hours in the catering industry are just manic. They're absolutely disgusting. Long hours, early starts, very little social time, eating, people probably think that chefs are eating all the time. We're really not. Like there is no time for eating a lot of the time. But I kind of came away from that when I had Rio. I had my kid. I needed something that afforded me, one, some more money, because chefing isn't well paid unless you're at the very top. Two, I needed more time off, so that I could be around a little bit more. So I moved over to this job that doesn't offer much, any job satisfaction. It can be a very sort of mundane job that doesn't give you much. So, other than a lot of free time, effectively. So I have time to sort of pursue something else. I've always really enjoyed, working out, training, that whole trying to look after myself side of things. And when you go into a job where there's maybe not a lot happening and there's maybe quite a lot of sitting about, some unhealthy habits that come maybe just with shift work in general because people are tired, shift work drains people, people's eating habits kind of go a little bit ski with, you start to realise that job that you're in, that's not the only place that's going to be happening. There's going to be people in jobs all over the country, all over the world that struggle to manage their eating, struggle to find motivation to go and exercise, and just struggle to sort of, deal with losing body fat or just living in a bit of a healthier way. So one, the coaching PT thing came from the fact that I had time to pursue something alongside my full-time job, but two, I generally just really want to help people. and help them understand that it doesn't have to be as difficult as maybe social media now has some people believe, where you're not allowed to eat carbohydrates, or you can't eat carbs after sex, or, you know, you have to drink skinny tea and, you know, a sachet of some absolutely disgusting looking powder that your favourite influencer's selling. Like, it really doesn't need to be that complicated. So I think that's where it stems from most, is just wanting to help people a little bit.
So I actually want to, because this is the thing that a lot of people are going to feel like a lot of what we talk about and the guests that I get on, a lot of people are going to say, oh, you're in an echo chamber, Tom. All these people are saying the same thing that you're saying. Yeah. I actually want to try and get some like controversial guests on. Like, I do want to try and get some influencers that do sell these things, and I want to try and find out. Well, I don't want to find out about their like self-worth. Like, I don't want to find out. Like, I don't want it to be a personal thing. I want to find out why they do it, because there's the whole controversy with like the Liver King. He's just been, you know,
what a tool.
So, but again, like I'm obviously not going to get him on. Jesus Christ! But like, I want to get some like controversial people, some people that totally disagree with what we're saying, and I love, and maybe that's why I was also so drawn to like your own social media and wanted to get you on, because you're doing it and you can tell for the right reasons. You're trying to help people. You're trying to clear up the bullshit that a lot of the fitness industry are trying to like push down people's throat. Excuse the pun, but yeah, like I think that's freaking class, and that was a massive reason that I started this as well, just purely to help people, because you'll know yourself like how good structure feels. You'll know yourself how good like having control over like as many variables in your life feels, and you also know like the buzz that you get from exercise. So just before we jumped on, we had like a little chat, and we actually maybe should have recorded some of it, but I didn't want this to be about me. I want it to be about you. With regards to the personal training thing, you said just before we came on, you're just coming up for, you're just over a year of doing it. What sorts of things have you like learned are different from loving exercise yourself to then coaching someone else to exercise?
Okay. So obviously, like you said, so you use the word motivated, and I hate the word motivation. I think motivation's fickle, but I understand what is meant when people use the word motivation. I've obviously got a very, very big goal. You know, I'm going to get on stage on the 26th of March. Like, it's going to happen. And that was the goal since I signed up with Ali. Like, this is what I want to do. Let's make it happen. And we set a timeline initially, and that never happened. But it's always been pushed forward. But I know that it's going to happen. I am going to get on stage. And that's maybe just down to who I am as a person. It's like, I've set this goal. Doesn't matter what happens, it's going to happen. Not everybody's like that. The biggest thing that I've encountered since working with people is you can't motivate somebody all the time. It doesn't matter how much you want them to do well. It doesn't matter how good your plan is. It doesn't matter how good the pep talk is on the check-in. You know, sometimes it doesn't even matter when they see it themselves. If you put two photos side by side, they'll go, wow, that's amazing. 2 days later, they come to you and say, I've absolutely fucked it. I just wasn't motivated. I haven't gone to the gym for 2 days. The single biggest lesson that I've learned is that people have to want it. People have to want to change. And sometimes just because they tell you they want to change, they actually don't.
Yeah.
Saying I want to look different or I want to lose X amount of pounds or whatever isn't enough. They have to be willing to show it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think as well, what I always tell people is, you know, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. It's like, it's okay. It's no skin off my nose. Like, you know, I'll hopefully get other clients. I can't help everybody as much as I would love to help everybody. But the most frustrating thing is the people maybe who check in every week and say, oh, I don't really understand why my scale weight isn't moving, or I don't understand why I feel so shit, and then you delve into it a little bit more and, oh yeah, I'll try better with my calories next week. I won't go out this weekend. It's the people who can't just quite admit that they don't actually want to make the lifestyle change that's needed to make a lifestyle change.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like, I think the fact that you've learned that in like your first year is pretty impressive, because it took me a little while to realise, like, I knew that not everybody was going to love exercise as much as me, but I didn't realise like how much behind like behavior change and like the psychology of it was how much that impacted it. Because for me, it was always like, right, okay, I want this outcome. I'll do whatever it takes to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like you're saying, like sometimes you speak with people and they're like, oh, I want the outcome, and you lay out, right, look, this is what we're going to need to do, and they're like, well, I don't really want to do that. And you're like, that's part and parcel of it. Like to get there, you need to do. There are some laws to it, but mate, the fact that you've learned that in the freaking first year is mega. That's really going to help you. Like that'll massively help your. That'll help with your client base. That'll help with you as a freaking coach. Like honestly, maybe I'm just slow, but that I feel like no, that's fast to have learned that.
I think it's been a pretty recent revelation. Like for a while, I was like, why is this person not changing, or why can't I help these people? And then it sort of you sort of put things together a little bit, and you're like, yeah, okay, that person maybe can't be helped at the minute. I think there's a huge. On you go.
No, on you go.
I think up here, especially, so in Caithness or in Thurso, there's not a great deal to do outside of maybe going to the pub on the weekend. Like we've got the great outdoors and there's lots of amazing scenery, but that's not really everybody's jam. Mm-mm. There is a big culture up here of going out almost every weekend. And there's a huge social aspect to it. I can understand part of it. You know, that's how people socialise, people relax. There's obviously quite a big drinking culture in Britain as it is. The majority of the people who I can't help refuse to come away from that side of things. Yeah. And that's fine. That's how people want to live their lives, but you have to try and help them understand the health implications that'll come with drinking every weekend and the lack of progress that they're going to make. Even if you just look at something like sleep, the way that getting smashed off your bonds every Saturday, being rough all of Sunday, and then going into Monday having not slept properly and things, how that's going to impact your whole week. People, it's trying to get people to understand even just things like that are going to be totally ski whiff. So
no, I think there's like two things that I'd like to kind of touch on, and I guess, mate, we're not freaking experts by any means, and like I put a disclaimer at the start of this that like none of what we say is like advice; it is just chat. But the two things that I kind of want to touch on is like we're talking about those clients. Like I've had them, and I've had people like when I say, look, I think if we just take one weekend off, like if we do 3 weekends out, 1 weekend off, your progress will go like a lot better. And you get looked at like you've got two heads. But we'll come back to the booze side of things because I became obsessed with it because I like couldn't figure out why like people wouldn't step away from it. But like we're talking about these clients and like we have ideas of the amount of progress that someone should make. Like, and the thing I think as well, and this is something that I got wrong for a long time, is like everybody should be able to hit £1 to £2 a week. Everybody should be able to hit that. Yeah. I think when you start to pull, like, strip it back a little bit, and you say to them, like, look, we can keep living the way that you're living, make some slight tweaks throughout the day, and you'll still make progress, but it's going to be really slow. The amount of people that are like, no, I want the most progress, but I don't want to change. And it's like the analogy that I kind of like to use is like, it's like people want to make more money, but they don't want to do any extra work or they don't want to put in extra effort. Like it's like that is how it works. Like you get a complete reflection of what you put in out. But a lot of people don't want to accept that. Like, well, what I could like £0.5 a week. So that's all I could lose. They start doing the maths and they're like, right, it's going to take me freaking a year to lose like just under a stone. And then they're like, I don't think I'm going to bother. Like, it's rough. It's rough. It's a hard part of the business.
I think people realise as well that it can be it's difficult. That initial period is difficult when you're making a change in anything that you do. It's like going to a new job, that first, week or month or whatever where you're learning new things, meeting new people, being in a new environment. That's difficult. Any change in life is difficult, leaving a relationship, whatever. Trying to get your shit together to benefit your health is arguably one of the most difficult things to do, I think, because you may potentially not lose friends, but distance yourself from friends who maybe are still living that lifestyle that you've maybe come from, that you're trying to come away from.
Yeah.
People that think that going to bed earlier is a bit boring. Oh, what, you don't want to take out? Boring. You're not coming out the weekend? Boring. Well, you went to the gym every day? Boring. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you start alienating yourself from people. So I think people realise that, it's difficult. And not everybody likes difficult.
Yeah, no, they definitely.
But the rewards that come from doing something difficult are fucking amazing. Just amazing.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's my favourite thing about prep is how hard it is. And you become you do almost become completely isolated because everything that you need to do, you have to do it. Like, you can't say, oh, could someone give me a hand with this? Like, unfortunately not. Like, people can be there, and I definitely want to talk about Alice and yourself and your relationship and your lifestyle. I definitely want to talk about that. Like, there are people there. Like, Lisa made my prep like almost easy this last time. However, you have to do everything. Like, you have to make sure you're eating. You have to make sure that you're ready to eat at a certain time. Do the steps, do the cardio, do the workouts. And I think, like, for me, it's always spiritual, and I know that sounds fucking mental, but like, I realize so much about myself every time I prep. First time I learned, I was like, I treat myself with food so much. Like, any opportunity I get, I'll eat cake. Any opportunity I get, I'll order takeaway. Like, it's like this. It's like a reward, and I get this big dopamine. But as soon as I put that like restraint in, and I was like, I need to eat this many calories, and I don't go out with it. Once I'd done that for a few months, I was like, whoa. There's a lot of things that I really do want, and there's a lot of things that I would like to have done every single day that I didn't do. And I think I almost feel like everybody should experience it.
Yeah, I do as well to an extent. I think so. Just quickly, just before I forget, because you've touched on it there, I know we'll go towards Alice and things, but so after Alice competed, we got, we were coming back into a little bit of normality, what life was like before prep and stuff for her, and it got to a point where we did that thing where we were like, oh, if we fancy having something, let's just have it. So we found ourselves sitting at night having, like a rum and coke, a couple of bags of crisps. And that happened almost every night across the week because we were like, wow, this is amazing, we've missed this. And it gets to that point where you're like, oh, fuck. Fuck, I probably shouldn't have done that. That was really stupid.
Yeah.
So then that's something else then that you can relate to your clients. You're like, trust me, I get it. I totally understand it. But then the minute that Alice and I were like, wait a minute, this is really daft and that is complete self-sabotage, you just know, I think you just feel better.
Yeah.
Because one, you've taken responsibility. You're like, fuck yeah, I did that. I took responsibility for that. But two, obviously you cut out these random bursts of eating junk food that don't really make you feel fantastic.
Yeah. We actually had that conversation this morning. And like, I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, I genuinely wouldn't. So Sunday I had a photo shoot in the morning, so I made myself like almost like an outfit. Like, I made my homemade McDonald's breakfast. I had that knowing that I wasn't going to get to eat till later. For lunch I had McDonald's because it was my nephew's birthday party. They all went to McDonald's. That evening it was my niece's birthday the day after, so we had takeaway that night. And like the day after, I almost felt like this massive surge of calories. My body felt pretty good. But then we had some cake on the Monday night. Tuesday, like last night, went round for party tea. I left myself 1,500 calories, so I could definitely have a couple hot dogs. I could have some like chicken dipper things. But this morning when I woke up, it was like my body was like, "Go make yourself sick." Like I didn't, but like my stomach was like, "Get this out of us. Like, this is not what you need." And something that I like frequently say to clients, and it's almost not a motto, but like, nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. Nothing.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. Like, mate, I had a terrible time, and I'll maybe even actually try and ask Alice if she wants to come on and talk about that. Because after my first photo shoot, I had a terrible time. I gained 6 kilos in my first weekend.
Yeah.
Like, it's a rough spot.
Yeah, like, if you're going to try and get her on, she'll obviously talk about it more, but sort of what I saw her go through and what we went through from, I don't know, maybe 4 weeks out from her first show to 2 weeks post-show maybe was difficult. It was difficult. And then, like you say, you see that relationship with food completely change at both ends of the spectrum, I guess, you see that sort of restriction to the freedom.
Yeah.
The freedom then
like
leads to binging.
Yeah. I didn't like it. But I like was so burnt out with track and everything, with weight and everything, that like the freedom felt so good. But like the lack of structure was just it just didn't it was horrible. It's a hard time. And I think that's something that maybe I'll give her a bit like I would probably wait a little while longer because it's probably still too fresh. And like it does take a little while before you look back and you're like do you know how you're saying like that you have that responsibility, you have that ownership of it, like, oh fuck, I did do that. It does take a while before you actually see that because there will be a lot of like rough. It's tough for her. It is tough, and I think we do like give it a bit of time, and I maybe don't even touch on it too much more because it's a hard thing to go through. Maybe I'll do like a solo podcast sometime talking about my own like experience of going through like crazy binges. Like I mean, to the point where my stomach was distended, and I actually thought there was one time I thought I was going to burst my stomach. I ate so much. Like I just had to lay down. But my stomach was like way out, and I was just like it was awful. But yeah, we'll. I want to kind of touch on back on the booze because I live in a similar place.
Right. Okay.
Where it's like drinking drugs are like the weekend. That is what most like from 16, let's say, to like probably pretty close to 30. Like that's just, and then even after that.
Yeah.
And I do think it's nuts that we all know it's a poison. It's a depressant. It impacts, well, for us, like most people won't care, it impacts muscle protein synthesis. It lowers your inhibition so you don't give a shit. It makes you more hungry. It's got calories in it. Like it is the total, like if I was to find something to sabotage dieting, I'd call it alcohol.
Yeah. It's like the opposite end of the spectrum, isn't it? If you've got healthy or, whatever, and then unhealthy, it's alcohol is here. It is at the complete opposite end of the spectrum. It will not do anything good for you. You might think that it's going to, it helps me relax, whatever, all that bullshit. That shit, that's fucking you up, this stuff here.
Yeah. Oh, like that's, do you know what the worrying thing is though, Ross? Alcohol gives you the same or a similar dopamine hit to exercise.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so easy for people to like want it and then want more of it. But exercise, you can get like a similar dopamine hit each time. If you're able to push yourself to that point or overcome something, like you'll get it every single time and it'll be the same amount. With alcohol, what happens is after each drink, it like drops. So that's why you always want to have a couple more drinks. It's a wild.
It's quite scary. I think it's quite scary.
Yeah. Andrew
It is quite scary.
Put a thing up just a couple of weeks ago, being like at one point smoking was seen as like good for you. Coca-Cola was seen as good for you, and it was like, what do they think it'll be from like 2020, to 2020, whatever? And he was like, alcohol. He was like, I think it'll be alcohol. I think in like 10, 15 years time down the line, we'll look back and we'll be like, I can't believe humans celebrated with that. Can't believe humans used that for escape and enjoyment. But yeah, I guess maybe I didn't want to talk about it. Maybe I just want to get all my opinions off of alcohol.
That's fair.
But to be honest, I still have a drink. Like in fact, I love it. Like I do genuinely love boozing, but it's just not good for us, is it?
No, it's really not. It's something I enjoy to a point. I don't know if you want to make the transition towards like my prep and the bodybuilding stuff at the minute, but I suffer quite a lot with like social anxiety sometimes.
Okay.
So like a busy pub or a nightclub or whatever, that shit puts me on edge. Like I find it quite hard to relax, even with alcohol. Obviously, it gets to a point where you've had one too many drinks and you are a lot more relaxed than if you hadn't. But like I sometimes get quite a lot of social anxiety, like a lack of self-confidence and things. So nights out aren't really my thing. The alcohol side of things does appeal and it doesn't. Like hangovers, obviously, like I'm 31 now, so hangovers hit you like like a train.
And it gets worse.
And then you've got that thing then where you're like, oh my god, what did I say last night? Or oh shit, what did I do last night? It's just not, I don't know, I just don't find much enjoyment in it. And when it comes to socializing, yeah, socializing is cool, but like I'll have the same conversations with you when I'm sober. I'm a very open person. I'm very approachable, very honest, very like I'm a deep thinker. I love to have deep conversations. Like I don't need booze to go there.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah,
that I would say when I was drunk, I'll tell you when I'm sober.
yeah.
So, like up until it must have been maybe about 4 weeks ago. I hadn't been drunk in 3 years.
Really?
I went 3 years without getting drunk. I'd had obviously like the odd glass of wine or whatever if we went out for dinner or something. I would have a glass of wine or whatever. But yeah, I went 3 years without getting smashed, and it was probably three of the most productive years that I've ever had. I think a lot of the progress that I made came down to the fact that alcohol was like whatever, like not interested. I think that probably came down to it a little bit. And then
Okay.
the whole self confidence thing, the social anxiety and whatnot is a big reason that I'm going on stage. I obviously love to compete, to exercise. Sorry, I love to work out. I love how my body changes. I also like to show it off. Like if you look at my Instagram page, I'm not shy in taking a progress picture of my kettle for whatever. Like I love to just show off what I'm up to. And I think I look decent. I'm quite open in saying that the progress that I've made from where I was to where I am, I'm proud of that. Like I look decent. But getting on stage and being judged and having, however many pairs of eyes on me, I'm I'm scared. Like it's terrifying. But I'm not, unless something goes terribly wrong, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to get on stage and you know what I mean. Like it's not going to kill me. If anything, it's probably going to make me more confident. It's going to help me prove what I can achieve. It's going to, take me out of that comfort zone. Like nothing productive ever happens in your comfort zone. It's boring as shit there, and that's okay if some people are comfortable. But like, nah, like I want to see what I can do. I want to see how far I can take it, and I want to. I really just want to prove to myself. I think that there are no boundaries on what you can achieve. And if you're somebody who has social anxiety or lacks self confidence, just going and doing it is the best thing you can do. Do you know what I mean? I could go. So when Ali came to me 4 or 5 weeks ago now and said, "Let's do the Scottish shows," I didn't decide that I wanted to do prep until the week before we started. The main reason for that was because of like I'd spoken about like Alice's prep and we were getting back to normality, and I didn't know if it was fair for me then to go welcome back to normality, Alice, but I'm starting prep now.
Yeah.
But I could have just kept going, oh no, that's too scary. That's too scary. I'll let you know. Maybe we can compete later in the year. Like, you've just got to jump in and do it. You just have to go, this is the most terrifying thing that I could possibly imagine. So I'm going to do it. Because let's just see what happens.
Yeah. I actually
I genuinely don't think there's anything bad that can come from it.
no. No. I had a massive wobble the night before my first show, and this is like what you're saying there was exactly how I felt. I was thinking to myself, I have done my absolute best, but now I'm away to step on a stage where someone decides how good I've done, and I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck does that? And I actually asked, like, I said to myself, I was like, what does that matter what that person says? And I eventually was just like, I don't care. Like I know that I've done my best, and that's all that matters. And it's funny that you brought that up because that was like the night before, and I didn't even think about it at all until the night before, until I knew I was going to be compared to other people. There was going to be someone sat down in front of me that decides you've done well, you've not done well, you've done better than them, you've not done as well as them, and that's yeah. I remember getting I had a big wobble, and I actually screenshot. I put it all in my stories and then screenshot it. But yeah, I'll send that over to you actually. But so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for the general population clients, like the people that aren't in and amongst bodybuilding, Ali works under the VW Physique brand that Vaughn I had on, or I just released the podcast. By the time this comes out, it'll be 2 Mondays ago. Prep just means preparing for a show, and that is a fat loss phase or a diet. So I was trying to figure out there, my maths is terrible. So you've got December, January, February, March. You're doing like a 4-month like prep dieting phase.
Yeah.
For people that are listening as well, like that's probably not going to be like The Rock does and have cheat days, cheat meals. There may be high days to help him out, but he's going to be staying within a certain amount of calories. Ross is going to be staying within a certain amount of calories every single day over that time. He's going to have a step target that he will hit every single day. He's going to work out when he needs to. He's going into a phase of like, I don't like the word strict because it is going to be strict. Like there's no grey areas with it. It's black and white. Like you do or you don't. But it's like there's no messing about with this. Like there's no like days off. It takes over life, and that's really why I want Ross to come back on, so we can talk through everything that he has done in that period of time. And I'm just trying to make sure that like if there's any like jargon that we use that I can clear it up, just so people don't understand it, just in case people don't understand. But I think that was everything. And I want to kind of like, and I guess I don't know with regards to the social anxiety stuff. I don't know if you want to really talk about that, or if that's like something that you've had for a long time, or if it's something that you want to touch on. Because I guess I should kind of say as well, like the muscles and nonsense thing, and I've called it M.a.N. I'm wanting this podcast to be a place for men and women to come to learn more about men, to learn more about how we are so different. And being a man is not just one thing; it's a huge spectrum. And I honestly like I would say, big muscular bloke, handsome lad, good-looking girlfriend, jobs. Like you've got all these things going on for you. Like for a lot of guys, they'll be like, "Well, how can he feel like that?" And I think it'd be an interesting thing for just if you could just maybe like tell us a little bit about it, and maybe even describe how it feels sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's been something that I've probably dealt with for most of my adult life. I would have reckoned it's been something that's been around for a very long time. Probably more so since I became a father. I think that the pressures... Being a dad is one of the most bizarre things that you'll probably ever experience. Being a dad is amazing. Like when he was born, I was like, wow, this is mental. Like here's this tiny baby that I've only ever just met, for the first ever time, and it feels like I've loved them my whole life. But then you realise that you've got to take care of this tiny human, until the day that they decide to leave home, and even after, you still have to be there for them. There is then this immense amount of pressure to make the right decisions and do the right things. But then people are telling you that parent is a learning curve. You're not always going to get everything right. But there's just such excruciating levels of pressure to get things right, from making sure that they eat properly so that they don't have messed up eating habits when they get older, to making sure that you're making enough money to provide for them, to, I don't know, just making sure that they have everything that they need. But then you also have to make sure that you think about yourself as well, because your own health is just as important, if not more important, when you become a parent. Because if you're not healthy, how do you look after your kid and whatnot? Yeah. But then you also have to make sure that your whole life doesn't go on hold. Now, there's going to be people who will disagree with what I'm about to say, and that's okay, because, like I've always said, I'm very honest and open, and I'll always just tell you how I feel. I think that it gets to a certain point where if you go, my whole life is about being a parent, and that's what some people want, that is all some people want, and that's fine, but that isn't how I want to be. I think that you have to make sure that you make decisions that are good for yourself as well, and make sure that you are living in a way that is going to set a good example for your kid, or show them that, anything is possible. But when I get on stage, Rio will look and go, that's my dad. Now, I might come dead last. I might have the worst physique up there. But to him, I'm on stage. I'm showing off. I've done something incredible. I'm under the lights. I've got all my funky tan on, and I'm strutting my stuff. And he's going to be going, wow, that's my dad. That's amazing. And he'll remember that forever. Whereas I could have just gone, right, okay, so I'm just going to let everything that I want to do go by the wayside. My whole life is now devoted to being a parent. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Again, I just want to say that if that's what people decide to do, that's their choice. But I want to make sure that I'm doing things that excite me as well, but will also benefit Rio. So trying to manage that and the anxiety of that and wondering, is what I'm doing the right thing here? Should I actually be doing this? Brings about a whole new level of anxiety. So whilst my social anxiety sucks when I'm in big crowds and it's like always on edge in case, oh, did that person just look at me funny? Or, wow, the bar's really busy. Can I say excuse me to those people there to get up to the bar to get a drink? That's totally different. Like, that's like nervous and sort of, what if they don't let me pass? What do I do? What do I do if anybody confronts me? Or, you come up with all these mad things in your head. But then the anxiety side of things, outside of the social setting, is something that's there every single day where I'm questioning myself, where I'm saying, should I be doing this? Should I be doing more of that? Should I be doing less of this? Is it fair that I'm prepping? Is it fair on Alice? Is it fair on Rio? Should I be focusing more on my career? Should I be focusing more on my clients? So whilst it's anxiety, there's always just this constant, dialogue in my head where I'm saying, what I do is what I am doing the right thing to be doing. And I think that's what lends itself to the anxiety the most.
Yeah.
Is that doubt, I think. The doubt that you're not sure if what you're doing is the right thing. You just feel like I just feel like I'm winging it all the time.
Yeah.
It could also make it I don't know. I don't want to get too deep here because some people will be like, "Fucking hell, we've come on to talk about muscles and shit," and he's like nearly crying. But
nah, fuck him.
I think that when you then start doubting the choices that you're making, you start to sort of question yourself then as a person. Or I do anyway. So that dialogue goes from, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough? What if that person looks at me funny? What if I can't get to the bar for a drink? Oh fuck, there's a busy crowd on this side of the road, I'm going to cross over so I don't have to walk by them. Then in your head you're going, what the fuck is wrong with you? Nobody's going to look at you. That crowd will move out the way for you. What you're doing is enough because you've got a good job, you've got a good looking girlfriend, you've got a kid, you have a car, you're paying the rent for your house every month. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why don't you have that confidence? So then we're in this circle now where you're going, fucking hell, you're doubting yourself. Why are you doubting yourself? What the fuck are you doing? Why are you not more confident? And then you're going, oh my God, why am I not more confident? Why? Do you know what I mean? It's just this never-ending cycle of anxiety, social anxiety, doubt, self-worth, and then questioning yourself again. And it just starts this endless loop.
Yeah.
And then you go, nah, actually, what I am doing is right. Fuck yeah, I'm a man. I know what I'm doing. This is the right thing to be doing. And I'm going to do it because I want to do it. Oh, fuck. Am I actually? Is that actually what I want? Do you know what I mean? That is genuinely what it's like to live with that sort of anxiety. It's bouts of, this is the right thing to do. I know what I'm talking about. I know where I want to go. I know what I want to do. To, nah, that's not the right thing to be doing. I don't think I should be doing that. Should be doing that. Oh, fuck. That is just how it feels. And I think then if something happens that throws you off a little bit, so if somebody's a little bit cold with you, or maybe somebody's just having a bad day and you walk into their life at that moment when shit has hit the fan for them and they're a little bit off with you and you go, oh fuck, have I done something wrong? What have I done wrong? Why is that person not, it's just this huge like ball of emotion. I think that's the best way to describe sort of what being an anxious man feels like.
Yeah, and mate, honestly, like that is a huge reason. Like I didn't know this is where the conversation was going to go today, but like genuinely, a big part for me is like I want this podcast to be like blokes, men, chatting about man stuff that we do feel that's real. And a couple of episodes back, I had Fraser Smith on, Dr. Fraser Smith, who is a psychologist and specializes in male mental health. And like his big thing is like men are not these predators that they're trying to be portrayed as. Like there's so much more to us, and there is this like worry. There's this anxiety. Like, am I doing enough? Am I being a man? Am I doing a good enough job as a dad or as a father? Like, there's all those things, and like you just touched on absolutely all of them, and you pretty much gave everything that I want this podcast to be in like a 45-minute. Do you know? Like, I want other blokes, I want other young men to hear that they're like, fuck, I worry about that stuff actually. Do you know what? Tom's saying he gets it as well. Like Ross is saying he gets it, and that's what I want. I want it to be that like I bring on good men, and I'm telling you now, you're a good man. Good men on here to be able to be influential role models for young men to look at something and be like, oh, actually, do you know what? I want to do this with my life. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to, but that's maybe a bit of anxiety. And honestly, I'm fucking like buzzing with that. Like, mate, I was like my eyes start to sting a bit. My heart started to race with excitement. Like I was getting like, honestly, like, and that is what I want this to be. I want this podcast to be an opportunity for people to come and share. And we're going to talk more about your prep because I do want to share it, but I want it to be like open and honest. Like it's exactly what I want it to be. And honestly, like I really appreciate you saying all that. And I guarantee there'll be listeners that do listen and they're like, fucking what a man. Honestly. And I think it's brilliant. And we do worry. I think like the good men, there are dicks out there. There are predators, there are paedophiles, there's rapists, there's men that hit women. Like they're out there. But they don't get the title of men. They're males. They're males with that attached name to it. Like what we're wanting to be, we're wanting to be gentlemen. We're wanting to be good men. We're wanting to be the bigger man. Like that's what we're wanting to be. And I think that getting that off your chest, you're gonna make other men realize like, actually, I'm gonna take a bit of this pressure. Honestly, I think you will. I'm like buzzing. I'm buzzing with all that you said. I care for you. Like I do genuinely care, and I'm not just like excited that you've said that on my podcast. I swear. But like that is, and we didn't plan for this at all, did we? Like we didn't plan.
No, we didn't. No.
But that
I think
is,
it's worth noting as well that I think that guys just need to come away from the whole stereotype of being a man.
Yeah.
The world is changing and has changed. You know, society is different. It is now acceptable for dudes to talk about their feelings and their struggles and everything else just as much as, you know, everybody's like, oh, well, that's girly stuff. Like only girls talk about how they feel. Or we know what the male suicide rates are, and we know how much of a serious issue it is. So if there's one thing that any person or any man takes from this podcast today, it is just to be honest and open about how you feel. And if you're struggling, to always talk about it. Always. You're not going to be judged for it, especially if you're struggling. So I think that, you know, coming away from that, I'm a man, I keep everything in here. That shit has to stop. It's got to.
Yeah. I remember saying to, like, I've got this guy that helps me with business, and he's a great man, like genuinely. And I'm going to try and get him on, but I don't know if he'll come on or not. And I remember once saying to him, and it was like the start of this year, I was like, for 3 months, I've been struggling. I've been like it's been hard for 3 months. And he got mad at me. He was like, 3 months. He's like, you've let yourself feel like that for 3 months. He was like, what you should have been doing is you should have spoke out. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, but he was like, you know I'm here. You know there's people there. Like, you should just, like, to be a man is not to be annoyed that you feel it. He was like, it's to try and do something to try and help yourself. And that won't make a lot of sense to other people, but for me, when he said that to me, he was like, that's too long to let yourself feel like that, Thomas. It, like, something clicked in my head, and I was like, he's right. I should have said something sooner. But hindsight's like a beautiful thing, you know? Like, if I'd said something after a week of feeling like that, I would have had freaking, 11 more weeks of feeling good and maybe being a bit more productive. And like, you're totally right. And like, if anybody does feel down, they feel tough, they feel like life's just on top of them, they can always reach out to me, and I'm sure Ross is more than happy for people to reach out to him.
Always.
And also, like, a couple episodes back when I had Dr. Fraser Smith on, like, go back, listen to that, message him, speak to a professional, like, genuinely. And lads out there as well, reach out to your pals. Like, if you think a pal's not having a good time, ping him a message. Just ask him, how are you? What's been going on? like give it an invitation to have that conversation. And mate, honestly, I'm like so buzzing that you've spoke about that, because I know it's gonna help someone. It will. It really, really will. Do you find, like, so the way I kind of think about it is like anxiety is like the worry of the future, depression's potentially like the worry of the past. Do you find like having this like quite a strong identity as like a bodybuilder? Do you feel that kind of helps with the social anxiety, like having a comfort within yourself?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I guess so. I think, like I was sort of getting to with the whole like being a parent and then having your own goals. I think having something to focus on rather than so like let's just say I wasn't really into bodybuilding or the gym. Would I have met Alice or have stayed with Alice? You know, would our relationship have continued for as long as it has? Who knows? Because she was into CrossFit. I know what a shame that she had to suffer that, but she's now come over to bodybuilding. But would our relationship have gone on that long, or would I have been out every weekend because I wasn't worried about my health or exercising or my sleep or all these things? You know, so I guess maybe not having that. It's maybe not the identity that helps with it a little bit. It's maybe just I don't know, the things that it stops me doing, the things that it keeps me away from. So maybe just having direction and a focus and a goal as opposed to identifying as somebody who likes to bodybuild. Maybe that's
Yeah.
more what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go into Alice. But what I would rather talk about as opposed to Alice is I'd rather talk about like your relationship. So if you could give us like a little, like just a quick background about what Alice does, what she just amazingly just done this past season, and then a bit about like your lifestyle, because you guys still go on dates. You guys still like eat together. Like I think that's an amazing thing, and I think like a huge thing with regards health, fitness, and fat loss, muscle building, all that stuff. The foundations for that are habits, behaviors, environment, and lifestyle. And I think that you guys have that environment and lifestyle thing like nailed down. And if I don't know if you could touch on that, if you could talk a bit more about it, like even give an
Yeah.
example of how your day looks.
Okay. Right, okay, so just quickly, I'm just gonna so Alice is from Lincoln. Now, Lincoln is 11 hours from where I'm from. So just before first lockdown hit, Alice moved up. We didn't know obviously that lockdown was coming. It was just the way our relationship had gone. But we timed it absolutely beautifully. We couldn't have timed it better even if we'd planned it. Um, so obviously the gyms and everything shut down. And our lifestyle was a lot of fitness, but then we also had very good social. You know, we like to go away, we like to go and eat and drink and, you know, just have a good time. But the fitness aspect was massive. So when that social aspect was taken away from us during lockdown, we borrowed some weights from the gym and, you know, we did loads of workouts at home and stuff. We got some bands and all that stuff that everybody did. Like, bands must have been the top seller on Amazon during lockdown. So our relationship then became almost exclusively built around fitness. Um, very gradually, or in fact, I think it was the first lockdown I signed up with Ali, and I was like, right, okay, I'm going to make this. This goal is, you know, we're going to get after it finally. And then I think the more that maybe I got into the bodybuilding side of things, it maybe took Alice's fancy a little bit. It sort of appealed to her, and she decided that she was going to pursue it as well. Now, Alice structurally and genetically is put together beautifully for the class that she competes in, wellness. Wellness are usually more leg and glute dominant. Not peeled, you know, so not like super lean, but you know they've got a little bit of definition there. Alice like fits that class perfectly. She's genetically, you know, very strong in her legs and glutes. So she decided that she was going to compete as well. She ended up competing well before me, so she competed this year. She went through a very long off season and then went through prep, a very difficult prep, and got on stage. So she actually went to Two Bros for her first ever show, which some people might be like, bloody hell, that's ballsy, because Two Bros in the world of bodybuilding is like, you know, the top. They hand out the IFBB Pro cards. They're sort of like the cream of the crop. So she did very well in her first competition, and that qualified her for the Arnold's Sports Festival. So her second show was 4 weeks later. So she competed and then had to, continue to diet and dig a little bit more for 4 more weeks, considering she was already incredibly depleted, and got on stage then at the Arnold's, which was honestly, it was a mind blowing experience. Have you been to the Arnold's?
No, I've
The
never been.
festival. It's mental. It's just, I can't even explain it. So they had like the CrossFit athletes there, and then there was bodybuilding, and there was strength athletes, and just everything that you can imagine in the world of sports and fitness was there. It was mega, but that was also where they were crowning new IFBB pros and stuff. The level of athletes was outstanding, and she didn't look out of place. She looked incredible. She did, incredibly well. Incredibly proud of her for what she achieved. And I think that her eyes are now set on a pro card in the future, because I definitely think that it's achievable. She's got huge potential that if she works her socks off, she'll have her pro card one day. But on off season is when she's not dieting. It's when, she's in a surplus, she's above her maintenance level, she's trying to build muscle. You've almost got I don't want to use the word freedom, but you've got a little bit more flexibility with what you can. I don't want to use the word get away with, because that makes it sound like it's naughty, but you can maybe just have more off-plan meals, or just enjoy yourself maybe a little bit more. It's not as regimented as dieting. So during our off season, we'll maybe try and have like a date night once a week, and that could be anything from just going for some food and then going to the cinema, or it could be, like, very rarely, but it could be, a night out. Maybe we go to the tapas, and that just happens once a week, because we need to have that normality. Our relationship's built very much on being in each other's company, very affectionate, enjoying each other's, company, and being in each other's space. So off season afforded that ability to do that a little bit more freely. We go to the gym together most of the time. She makes my gym drinks up when I'm coming home from work. Like, we just do whatever is needed to make sure that the other one is in the best place to progress as we possibly can. And if we help each other along the way, then, we're both going to succeed, in my eyes. Dieting, so comp prep, things were a little bit more difficult, or they just changed a little bit more. Those date nights sort of faded out a little bit, because energy goes as well. You don't really have that sort of same get up and go, or the desire to get dressed up and go to the cinema or whatever. Yeah. So during the dieting side of things, maybe it was a case of, like, I would help her cook more of her meals, or it just be that sort of voice in her ear that was saying, like, you have to keep going. You've got to keep doing this, because you can't, like, I know it's hard, although I didn't know how hard it was. You just have to look at somebody. I imagine there would have been times where you were like just veggied. You didn't want to do anything, but there had to be somebody sometimes that said to you, "Get your shit done." You need to do this. You have to do it. That is what a lot of prep was like. It was like, right, okay, I know you can do this. I know that you want to do it, but it's very difficult. So it's like two polar opposites. Off season, great time, loads of fun, date night once a week, a little bit more flexibility in the diet, go to Tesco, get a packet of white chocolate and honeycomb cookies, all that sort of thing. They are the GOAT, by the way. Prep.
They are unbelievable.
Prep, you just need to be that sort of like pillar for them to lean on. So that's sort of how prep looked. I just, if she needed help cooking her meals, if she needed things doing for her, that was how it was. Yeah. And that's kind of how, I think that should sum up a relationship, I think, in general. If you were to use bodybuilding to sum up a relationship, you've got great times where everything is peachy creamy, really fun. And then you've got prep, where shit is difficult. Somebody's going through a difficult time, and they need their other half to be there to support them. You could basically just look at life as a bodybuilding prep. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's fun, sometimes there's, not a care in the world, and other times it's really difficult. So that sort of sums up our relationship, I guess. Off-season prep.
I would definitely, like, from the outside looking in, and this is something that, like, we kind of chatted about, like, me and Ross don't really know one another. We just kind of follow each other on social media. I get a little insight into his life. Ross is brilliant at just sharing what's going on. He's very open, very honest. His content is none of the bullshit influencery stuff that we spoke about earlier on. And something that I always really like about you, Ross, is, like, you're very open about loving your fiance, and congratulations again on that. Like, and I think that's something as well that men do miss. Like, or I don't feel emotions, but like, you're very open and honest, and I've also been like that. During prep, maybe not so much. You would have to ask Lisa. But no, I think it's incredible. But from the outside looking in, I see you two as like a bodybuilding couple. Like, I really do. And I love it that you train together. I love it that you help one another through your goals. Do you think you would ever prep together at the same time?
So, this was something that sort of swayed me towards prepping now. Like I said before, I sort of teetered on the brink of not doing it just because we'd missed normality. So we've craved that off-season again after the long prep. So I wasn't sure if now was the right time, but obviously I spoke to Ali about it. I'm coached by Ali. And he sort of pointed out that, one, I've got Rio, who is 10. If Alice and I are both dieting, one, it gets to a stage in prep, like, you'll know where energy is through the floor. So does the relationship, or does Rio's time here, because Rio still lives with his mum, when he comes to visit when I'm not at work, do I then have the energy to play with him or to do things with him? And if I don't, and if both Alice and I were on prep, who has the energy to make sure that he gets all the attention that he needs? Whereas if I'm on prep and maybe there's days where I'm really struggling, but Alice is, on off season or whatever, and she's full of beans, he doesn't have to feel it too much. Also, two hungry bodybuilders in the same house might not be a lot of fun.
There's a couple. They're a little bit older than me. They're not going to listen. They're a little bit older than me, and they've both prepped together, and they've done it once. And honestly, like, it's unbelievable when you hear them talk about it. She's like, I hated him. I can't believe him done it again. And then he'll be like, I nearly left. Like, I hated her. And they both.
Yeah.
See? Honestly.
Nah.
Yeah. So this is the other thing as well with it, Ross. Like, what I found is it gets easier the more times you do it. Because if you think about it like this, right? It starts, and like, you'll be able to say, like, now, nearly like 10 days in, we'll say, like, you feel all right. Like, there's no difference really. You just get to eat a little bit less food. Mm-hmm. By the end, you do feel like death. Like, you feel rough. You then go away from it. You go to your off season, and in an off season, that's like a gaining phase, or when, like Ross said, you're in a surplus, so you're eating more calories than what your body needs. So energy's through the roof. And hunger's low. Like, you're not actually that hungry. You don't crave anything. Like, you're not thinking of, like, oh, when I'm going to get to eat next. Like, it actually kind of becomes like a chore. And if you've listened to Vaughn's podcast, he spoke a lot about like gagging when he was eating so much. So when hunger's like down, you can eat. You can afford to eat a little bit of these tastier things to actually get them down. When you're dieting, you want like high volume, satiating foods. Like, you want it to be that you're eating very, very healthy. And healthy foods allow you to do that. So when you go through that transition of, like, you've dieted once, you've felt that absolute hell, that's what you remember. Like, the last 3, 5, like, I think it was like 7 or 8 weeks for me that felt terrible. So when you start again, you're almost waiting for, like, death to come. Like, you're waiting for that horrible feeling. So it's like going, it's going. You're waiting for it. You're like, when's it going to kick in? When's it going to kick in? Come on. When's it going to kick in? When's it going to come in? And it kicks in later because you're almost like expecting the low energy, the low sex drive, the really high hunger, the high food focus. Like that comes. And people are like, why would you want to put yourself through that? it's like a natural response from the body when it starts to get really, really low levels of body fat. And I just kind of wanted to throw that in, like, and I hope that if Alice does listen, like, she can maybe see it, and also yourself, like the first time it is. I almost craved the way the first time felt, which maybe makes me mental.
A bit of a sadist.
Like I genuinely, like, I craved it, and I didn't get it, and I was like constantly saying to Vaughn, like, look, I'm not as lean, I'm not as good. I need to feel like this is almost too easy. It's too easy. It's too easy. I had a weekend off because I had like a show a week and then another show, so it was like 2 weeks between shows.
Oh yeah.
And then I had like a 3 or 4 week period before I then had another show, and then I had another one, or a shoot and then a show. And I can remember coming after that second show, I had like a weekend off. Like Vaughn was like, "Look, you can pretty much eat what you like for this weekend. We've got plenty of time to take off." Like, so I did. Like, I had restraint. I had my breakfast. I had lunch. I think I had a croissant, and then I had an evening meal. But see, coming back from that, prep hit. Like it really hit me. Yeah, like honestly, because it was like that taste, like you're saying, like a freedom. Like I had a taste of it, and then I was back in those shadows, like grafting, really restrained, really like tight on things. Yeah.
I almost feel like I don't know. I almost feel like I want it to hurt.
Yeah.
Just to sort of like make it feel like I'm working for this.
And for a lot of people, that's going to sound bonkers, but there's a bunch of things we could talk about. In fact, let's chat a bit about them, about the crazy shit that you look in when you look in on bodybuilding. You're like, what the hell are they up to? For example, you'll have weighed food on the top of your car, won't you? You'll have put scales on top of your car, poured it in. Like, there's a lot of things. Yeah, there's a lot of things when you're like outside of bodybuilding looking in. It's really hard to understand. And
loads. On you go before I interrupt your train of thought. On you go.
So, like, I can remember going to, I think it was my third show, and there was a guy that like was on the floor, like pretty much passing out and then waking up, and I was like, I don't feel that bad, and I almost didn't feel like I deserved to be on stage with him.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like, and I know exactly what you're saying. Like, you want it to be, because you almost earn your stripes when it's like that, and it's a bit sadistic, a bit weird. Like, the harder your prep was, like, the more impressed, like, within the community people are. Which, and it shouldn't be. It should be that we're at a stage where we deal with things really well. But no, I know exactly what you're saying. So on you go. You were about to say something.
Bodybuilding is such a weird sport for those that look in. Incredibly weird. Me and Alice were talking a little bit about it last night. We got onto social media a little bit. I don't want to go down the social media rabbit hole too much because it is a very, very deep rabbit hole to get into. But in terms of bodybuilding, up where I am, there's not many. In fact, there'll be nobody else in Caithness who bodybuilds. Jason McKenna, he used to live up here and he moved away. So Inverness, there's a little bit of a bodybuilding community there, but up here, it's not a thing. Now, I post regularly on social media progress pictures or, you know, practicing my posing or post-workout or whatever with my kit off. And the amount of people that'll say to me, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you on social media in your pants? And then you look at, so I'm going to speak more to like the female side of things because obviously I'm a guy, Alice, you know, competes. If a girl does that, posts in her bikini or in her underwear or whatever, the amount of people that'll go, why the fuck is she in her underwear? What is that about? And then you'll get people who'll go, whoa, you know, she's got a great bum, or wow, she looks really good. Yeah. On social media, if you have people who follow you who aren't into bodybuilding, it very quickly, in my opinion, becomes sexualized. You're in your pants. My pants have absolutely nothing to do with this. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing. I'm not there so that you can see my underwear. I haven't put on my best underwear and taken a picture so that you can all go, oh my god, Roscoe's in his pants. Bodybuilding isn't about that. You should see what the guys on stage are wearing. They've got thongs on. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm there showing off what I've built. I'm there showing off my muscles and things. So that is a very weird aspect of bodybuilding, in my opinion. Is the fact that we are actually there in our underwear. And then you've got the group of people outside of bodybuilding who follow you going, oh, look at that. That looks amazing. That looks great. And then talking about the muscles or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
bodybuilding has become this thing that is in your pants on social media. You've also got the thing where you're weighing your food, like you said, bizarre, mental. People are like, what, you actually weigh your food all the time? Yeah, I weigh everything. Me and Alice stood in Muscleworks gym in London in Bethnal Green eating multigrain cereal shapes out of the box, having poured in whey, a whey shake into the box. Stood there post-workout, drinking the cereal out of the box. That's fucking weird. Why have you done that? What, you mean you got an Airbnb when you went on holiday so that you could track all your food while you were away? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird. It's mental. What, you're going to starve yourself and then get on stage for people to... Yeah, it's weird, I know. But I fucking love it. It's amazing. It's great. There's also an aspect, I think, of it where I quite like to stand out from the crowd a little bit. I don't really like to be, I don't really like to follow the norm. I quite like to be the guy that everybody's like, oh, that's Ross. He posts in his pants all the time on social media or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think bodybuilding is different, and I quite like that.
Yeah, mate. One of my favorite things is like I look around and I'm like, a lot of people couldn't do what I'm doing.
Yeah,
And I
man.
quite like that.
Definitely.
And like, and that maybe sounds arrogant. One of the best things that, like, when I was at one of my shows, there was like an MC guy, like a master ceremony, like he was talking, and he was like, "I want you all to know that you are like the 1%." He was like, and I got I made this quote up when I was on the Stairmaster once. Like, everybody can do this, but not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Like everybody has the ability to build muscle and lose fat, or like majority do, but not everybody in as in their person, their soul, like them. Not everybody can do it, and I quite like it as well. Similar to you, like I like it that people look at me and they're like, "He's fucking here again, trying really hard. He trained." Like I quite like that.
Yeah, I do.
And I also like, not to like sound like I'm bragging or anything. Like I spoke at a college. And I opened it up, I opened my whole presentation up as like, I've tried so hard to stand out that I now don't fit in. Like I'm trying
like
so
that.
hard to be someone that's like people look at and they're like, he's fucking just doing what he wants to. That like I don't actually fall into like a category. And I even got a bit like that with bodybuilding, like with all the bodybuilders doing all the stuff they do, the way they dress, like all this stuff. I was like, I'm not being that. I'm gonna be a bodybuilder. But I'm going to be doing other stuff. I'm going to keep other things. I'm going to still be like this individual.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's probably stupid. And like to everybody, they'll be like, "What a pair of idiots!"
Fucking weirdos.
Yeah, they probably are. But like, I completely understand what you're saying. And I imagine if you were to get like Justine that I had as like the first episode. She's a female bodybuilder. And we actually once spoke for like an hour and 20 minutes and didn't record the conversation, and then started recording the conversation. And had, like, honestly, we spoke about everything. We spoke about like controlled starvation and like how different it is. And once it is like a little clique, a little society. And mate, Ross, the most addictive part of it is, see, when you're at a show, everybody knows what you've gone through, so everybody speaks. Everybody supports you. Everybody tells you look amazing. Like everybody, because everybody's gone through it. And that's I was strangely drawn to that as well.
Yeah.
I was. I like that it's you as well. Like, there's no team members. You've got your coach who helps, but like you don't have to pass the ball to nobody. You don't have to defend someone else. You just go in and you just do your best. That's like almost like you were saying, like prep. I think training, bodybuilding, I think it is like a metaphor for life. Like, you get what you put in. You go in alone, you come out alone. How many people help you along the way? It's you that stands on that stage. Like,
and then I think there's then like so when you get on stage, you've done that. You like, I built this. Yes, okay, I followed my coach's orders, but I did the work. I pushed myself in the gym. I got on my bike. I went out and did my steps when it was snowing or whatever. But you've got the flip side of it. if for whatever reason you don't do it, now obviously there's no shame in it. You know, there's people who give up on preps or have to quit preps for lots of different reasons.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, I don't want to sound like a complete knob here because I haven't been through it yet, but if you don't go through with it, that's potentially something then that you've got to live with. You potentially then have to go, I gave up on that. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, there's going to be a myriad of reasons that people give up, and sometimes it might be out of their control. But just as you can say, I did that, you can also then have to live with, oh, fuck, I didn't do that. I gave
Yeah.
up on that. And I think that if you make it to stage, I think that that's maybe what makes it even sweeter is the fact that you could have jacked it all off, you know, gone, nah, done, can't do it, but you didn't. You made it there. You're not somebody who had to give up. Like, you discovered that you had the mental strength and the willpower and the drive to get there. I think that that's what excites me. I think the fact that I'll be able to go, I fucking did that, and I don't want to. I don't know. Like, I've got, there's like a pride. Do you think there's a pride thing that comes into it as well? Do you know, like, I know that I'm going to get on stage. I know that this prep is going to kick my ass, and I know that my food is going to end up low because last time we dieted, I had to go to pretty low food. I know that I'm going to get very, very, very hungry. I know that I'm prepping during winter when it's freezing. I know that I work shifts. I know that I've got a family. I know that I've got all these things to juggle with, just like everybody does. But I know I'm going to get on stage. It doesn't matter how difficult it gets. I've said I'm going to do it, so I'm going to do it. I can't. I'm just one of these people who, if I say I'm going to do something, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Tell me it won't, and it'll make me push even harder.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a pride element that comes into it.
So a quote that my cousin said to me. She used to do bikini, and she was like the first in our family to do bodybuilding. And I remember we were having a drink and we were pretty boozy. It was like early in the morning, and she like said something because I said to her like I was like I'd love to do it, and she was like, look, if you're thinking about it, something you need to know is you don't pick bodybuilding. Bodybuilding picks you.
Mm.
And like that totally stuck with me. I do think that there's just it's like football. Like some people like football, some people like rugby, some people like tennis, some people like basketball. Like
Yeah.
some people do just like it, and we are all different and individual. And going like to your point, like I have actually recently seen a lot of coaches brag about I'm going to prep, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show, and they don't manage. But I think it's because they're saying they're doing it because they're supposed to, as opposed to like you and I, we wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
do think there's
that.
another side of it as well that like a lot of people don't get to experience success, and by success I don't mean just money. I think like achieving a goal. I think working towards something and actually getting to it. I think a lot of people have dreams and goals, and for whatever reason they don't pursue them, whether it's worry, fear, people around them are pulling them back. Whereas I think within bodybuilding, and you'll know yourself having a coach and being a coach, once someone comes to you with a goal, like you're like, yeah, you can do it. You can do it, but you're going to have to do the work to it.
Yeah.
Is it a pride? I'm not. I'm honestly. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I know for a fact that there is like when I was doing stuff, I almost always wanted people to be like I almost wanted to show people like I'll push harder than anybody.
Mm.
I'll diet longer. I'll eat less food. I'll do more steps. Like I always had that, and I don't know what that was. I don't know if that's just competitive.
I was thinking about that before I came on when we were going to talk about prep and stuff. Like, I never do something to please other people. You know, obviously outside my relationship, I never do something so that I can go, watch this, I'll show you. But
Yeah.
there is an element of that to this. I want this again is maybe not the right reason, but it is a reason that I'm doing it. I want people to say, "Fucking hell, he did that."
Yeah.
Fucking hell, did you see what Ross did? And yeah, obviously, like I said way back at the start, that's not the primary reason. I've got, you know, I want to prove to myself that I can do this. I like bodybuilding, all that stuff. But when I think about it as well, it would be pretty cool if people went, "Holy fuck! You see what Ross did?"
Yeah.
I think that's.
So
I think that.
I just had a client. I don't know if you'll listen to this. He just done a photo shoot at the weekend there. Quite a shy guy. Don't really speak very much. But see, since the reception that he got once he uploaded his photos, and everyone was like, "Holy look what you've done, man! That is unbelievable." Even yesterday when he came in the gym, he was a bit more chatty. Like, chest was up a bit more.
Yeah.
More eye contact, and I'm like, there's definitely something in doing something that you wholeheartedly want to, but you're unsure if you're going to manage. And then I think when you do it and you do get some sort of recognition for it, it like tenfolds the feeling. And that's maybe me because I'm a people pleaser, or maybe I'm someone that really does care about what other people's opinions are, but like I'd like to think I don't. But I do. I've seen it. I've seen people say to me as well, transformation photos, I don't really see a difference. We then post them. They get the response. They get all the well dones, all the freaking like, oh, you're killing it, like all that. And then all of a sudden they get this like almost like a tap on the bum, like, good job. And they just,
yeah, well done.
Yeah. So no, I also totally get what you're saying, like totally. And I think and I think as well, if you can have as many tools, and I know you don't like the word motivation, as many tools or strings or places to pull motivation from, it's a lot easier to not be motivated. Like there'll be days where you're like, right, I'm stepping on stage, so I need to look better than them, or I want to look my best, or this, that, the other. And there'll be days where you don't actually care about that, and there'll be days where you're like, I want to impress such and such, I want to do this, I want to do that. You maybe then be inspired by Alice's efforts last year. Like, if you can pull motivation or inspiration from all these different places, I think you'll be like bomb-proof, man.
Yeah.
Like big time.
It is exciting.
So I know we've been on for a long time, and there was like we said we were going to talk about sad things. We've kind of gone on like a fantastic like journey of Ross, which is what I want this to be. How so far? Because this is what we're going to come back to. How so far has it felt transitioning from off season? And I would love it if you could tell us about calories, steps, exercise, cardio for the off season, to being in prep, where calories at, steps, and even just how you feel.
Okay, so my off season finished at 104.4 kilo. That was my end weight. And food actually went up to 4,775 on a training day, so 4,775 calories. But weight sort of just went skyrocketed. That was what pushed me to, I think I got to about 103, and Ali was like, fucking hell, wait a minute, we're going a little bit too fast here, let's pull it down. So training day calories came down to 4,400. And weight just sort of like leveled out a little bit. It got to a point where body fat was sort of coming on a little bit too quickly, and we just sort of wanted to maybe try and find a little bit of maintenance, really, rather than continue pushing. Steps finished off season at 8,000, and cardio was at 60. So he actually increased the steps and cardio after my weight had just like skyrocketed. But even when food went up to 4,775, I was hungry. Like, I'm hungry all the time. So I think that that's probably actually going to do me a favour, because obviously I know that when it, like, I know, off-season hungry and depth of prep hungry are going to be two completely different things, but hunger is an ever-present feeling for me. I'm always hungry. So it's just something that I deal with. So where some people might get into prep and go, fuck me, I'm hungry. Like, last day of off-season, I said to Ali, I'm hungry. Like, I'm always hungry, all the time. So it might just be something that I'll just be able to roll with and accept that that hunger feeling is still there. Fuck it, let's just roll with it. Calories then went from 4,400 on a training day down to 3,410, I think, on a upper body training day, and 3,500 something on a leg day, and then around 3,200 on a rest day. And honestly, it felt pretty good. it felt pretty good. I noticed that my digestion seems to be better. I don't feel as bloated. I don't feel as heavy. Everything just feels a bit nicer. And I'm not
Yeah.
like, so it got to a point where my pre-workout meal was oats, cream of rice, whey, berries, 2 crumpets, and jam. Now, that's quite a lot of carbs. So it got to the point where I was putting the last crumpet in and I was like, fuck me, man, I am so full. I'm so full. But then I would eat it and I'd be like, fuck me, I'm hungry. But now it's like I can eat my pre-workout meal and I'll quite comfortably finish it. Do you know what I mean? It's like a case of, okay, that was pretty good. I'm satisfied, but I'm not cramming food in. So I'm actually, for the time being, enjoying the lower calories. Cardio now is at 120 minutes for the week. We've got a spin bike here that I can just get on in the morning. 6 times a week I do 20 minutes. It's not really a hardship. Like, it actually makes me feel better as well. I feel like I'm starting to get a bit fitter. And then steps have gone just up to 10,000, which is pretty straightforward. It's quite nice being outdoors a little bit more. So he's asked me to do my cardio fasted, and he said, "Oh, I know you work shifts, like you have to get up early for day shift, so if you can't do it fasted some days, it's fine." Nah. Like, if I start prep, do my cardio fasted, I'm going to do my cardio fasted for the whole of prep. So I think last week I was on the bike at 4:30 or something. That's another thing. People are like, "What? You got up at 4:30 to get on the bike before you came to work?" Yeah. Like, I've got targets to hit. I've got numbers to hit. Another thing that blows my mind, so I'm just taking a complete tangent here, but
No.
so I leave the house to go to work at 5:45 in the morning, and I have to eat before I leave the house. See the amount of people that go to work having not eaten? Holy shitballs, they're like, "What, you get up to eat before you come?" Yeah, man's fucking starving. So, yeah, sorry, that was a complete side note. Sorry, I don't know why the fuck I brought that up. But yeah, in general, I feel pretty good for the time being. I feel productive. I feel a bit lighter. And weight dropped off, so we're now on average, I think the average is like 3.1 kilo down or something in 10 days. But it started to slow down, which scares me a little bit.
Nah, don't stress. Food's still high. Just remember
Yeah.
that. Something that I
know.
found, and this is something that me and Lisa have spoke about, like, and mate, this is maybe something that you'll like be excited about as well. I always had like an insatiable hunger, always. Like, I could eat and eat and eat. Prep showed me that I didn't need as much food as what I thought I did. I then went into an off season and got to the point where it was like similar to you. Like, I was saying to Vaughn, like, I could keep eating, like I could do that. And then when I prepped again, it, like, I think having like the extreme of my calories didn't ever get that high. I think I got to like, it was either like 3,800 or 4,000, just over, maybe 4,200, maybe. It was somewhere around there. Like, going from one extreme to the other, I think it was like, right, okay, well, do you know what? 2,500, 2,700 calories is like plenty of food. And now, genuinely, I struggle to eat that. Like, it's filling and it's like satisfying, which is a nice feeling.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I guess I'll quickly touch on as well, like what we're saying there, when Ross's weight shot up. People always need to remember that, like, bulking is not just, or gaining or improvement, whatever phase you want to call it, because it always gets different names. Your goal is to build muscle. It's not just to gain weight. As muscle builds, you will gain weight. To feed and fuel the process of building muscle, you need to eat more than what your body's burning to allow for that extra energy burnt. But if you do, like, at the end of it, normally people will have like a little excitement rush and they'll just start eating shit because they know they're going into like a diet. But that's what I wanted people to know, that like, you don't want to just rocket weight up, because then you have to diet longer and you have more fat to take off. But Ross, honestly, I've got one more question. I've just got one more question. And honestly, thank you for taking us on that. Like, I don't want to use the word roller coaster because it sounds like I'm having a laugh with it, but we've been all over the place, and I really I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate the honesty, and I hope that there's young men, maybe even women here, and learn something about like the way that we feel and maybe the way we do think. So honestly, thank you for that. But just to finish this off and round it up, and this is a pretty deep question, and since you're a deep man, I'm looking forward to your answer. But what do you think it is that makes a good man?
Oh, fuck me. Okay. I think the biggest or the best quality in the best men is the ability to admit when you're wrong. Now that is something also that you could probably say should be true for everybody, men and women. But like I said, there is that stereotype of being a man where you're like, I'm a man, I'm right, this is the way it's going to be because I said so because I'm a man. I think the ability to admit that you're wrong or to ask for help are two of the best qualities that a man can have. Obviously, there's lots of things, you want to be a man who provides for your family, that's great. You want to be a man who, can keep your family safe and all these things. And that, they're all fantastic qualities to have. Being driven, having a goal, the ability to work towards and achieve your goal, they're all fantastic qualities. But I think nowadays the ability to admit when you're wrong and to be able to ask for help are the two best qualities that a man can have.
Mate, that's unbelievable. Genuinely unbelievable. If I could, I would give you a fucking massive hug and say thank you again. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm pretty sure everybody would love to hear from you, either in a couple months or even just closer to the end of prep, and we'll just talk about how you feel, things that have changed, where food's at, where energy's at. You can even show us your abs as well.
But I would love to come back on. Honestly, this has been fantastic. I didn't think it would go where it's gone, but as well as helping people, I want people to realise that this is sort of who I am as a person. I'm very open. I'm very honest. I'm clear about how I feel, and anybody that ever wants to talk about how they feel or if they're struggling with anything, I'm always approachable. It doesn't just have to be in a professional context. If more people start talking to each other, then the world will be a much happier place.
And mate, I'm going to end it right there. Honestly, thank you so much. Ross, I will put all your details down below for social media, websites, whatever. And if anybody wants to speak or reach out to Ross, please do check out his social media. He provides amazing content, and he does genuinely. His journey is going to be unbelievable. I've watched it, and it's been fantastic. So honestly, Ross, thank you again, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Mate, unbelievable. Genuinely unbelievable.